Howdy people, welcome back. I'm Nat at Mud Magic. Thank you for joining me again, this time back in the studio. So I'm all by myself today, no Trace. She is coming up tomorrow, so we'll have a kiln unload for you tomorrow. And I was thinking about doing this with her tomorrow, but I thought I'll just do it now because I'm quite sure she won't want to sit there and watch me throw. If I asked her, I know she would say, oh yes, I love watching you throw, because as I say, she's so positive, but I don't want to sit her through all of this. So I'm just going to sit here. I thought I'm just going to call this Come Throw With Me today. Just going to have fun throwing. I had quite a lot that I wanted to throw today, and people are always asking me different questions about how I throw things. Nothing, as I always say, I am not a trained potter. I just do it how I do it. But I always say to you, I like throwing when I can let the clay be what it wants to be. So that's what I'm planning on doing today. So I thought, why not just bring you along for the ride? This is going to be a pretty long video. I might cut it into two halves because I've got bowls and things, and then I've got mugs. So I might do the mugs as the second half, but we'll see. I mean, you guys can fast forward. You know I don't edit, so this is just going to be what it wants to be. So feel free to fast forward, no judgment. Oh yes, and also thank you, Sarah Walton. I worked out how to set up Buy Me a Coffee. So I hate doing things like that and asking things like that. However, if you do enjoy these videos and my kiln unloads and you do get something from them, you might get tips or tricks. People have said they love my idea of using a sponge to throw, which sometimes I do. And also if you've got glaze combos that you've used that I've shown something like that, you know, it helps me immensely if you would buy me a coffee. I asked Trace to test to see if the link would work, and of course she bought me a coffee. She's such a sweetie. So I have my first coffee. It's very exciting. So yes, you know, we're all broke potters, so any little bit helps to keep me being able to do these productions and to buy clay. That's a bit important. So I always like to start with my bigger pieces. I don't know why, it's just the way I am. I mean, it does help with my hands. They get a bit stiff by the end. I like to get the bigger, heavier pieces out of the way. Always like to wet my bat just a little bit. Plus this one had brown clay on it and I'm using white, which doesn't really matter because you're going to trim the base anyway, so don't be too worried. So first piece up off the rings, I actually went through and wedged everything in my lunch break from work today, so I finished for the day now, yay. So I wanted to get everything ready, so they're all wedged up already, so let's throw it on the middle. Now if you don't have these, you need to get them because they're amazing. All they are is disposable shower caps. So my husband travels for work, so he gets them for me every time he stays in the hotel room and raids the trolley and asks the ladies. So I've got heaps of them, but you can buy them really, really, really cheap on Etsy or Temu or wherever you get your stuff from. But you can put them over your mugs. I put them over all my mugs when they're drying so the walls don't dry too much to attach handles while I'm waiting for the base to dry to get to leather hard to trim. So I use them all the time, and because I threw this in my lunch break, I put that on, just put it around it because I didn't want it to dry too much. So there you go. There are going to be a few little tips in this. Basically it's just going to be fun. So centering, I always push down with a big piece first because you want to stick it to the wheel. I have thrown pieces across the room before, not often, but it has happened. So I kind of use, when it's a big piece like this, I use both hands. So this one is keeping the top down, but I'm also, if you can see, using my palm on the side to help both hands push it because it's so big and I'm not strong. This one's always wedged in, and then if you want to cone up, I always just cone up a little bit. So what I used to do, I used to just cone up like that, and then I'd push down. But what I found was, see how it's a bit swirly? I don't know, I just sort of got air bubbles and stuff, so I go back down now as well, and it kind of, I saw his Sin Lin do that, and it kind of smooths out the wall back down again, and it works heaps better. Don't cone up too high because again you can get air bubble issues, which is another thing I saw from him. You just kind of, you're trying to just compress the clay particles, but I've wedged all of this clay anyway, so I'm hoping it'll be okay. So I said I like to let things be what they want to be, which I do, but you know, you have to have a basic idea. this is not going to be a mug, right? Well, it's me, maybe it will. I do like my good Gigantosaurus mugs, but no, that might be a little bit too much. So this is about 2.5 kilos of clay, quite a lot of clay, because I want to do a chip and dip with this, but I want to do a flop chip and dip. So once I've centered it, and because it's going to be a flop chip and dip, the thing I love is, it doesn't really matter if it's not perfectly centered, because I'm going to flop it anyway. So keep your clay nice and wet, because you cannot, you know, if your hand starts catching, you're going to gouge your clay and you're going to hate it. So the biggest mistake I used to make with chip and dips is I never did my dip bit big enough. So I would always be a bit disappointed that at the end, or my dip bit, you know, I can never get my proportions right. So anyway, so I'll kind of get it out a little bit like that. Then I am just going to get the dip part happening. So you just go down about there. And again, as I say, you guys can be my editors. You can fast forward whatever you want, because if I try and rush it and if I get nervous, I'm just going to make mistakes, or I'm going to stress the clay because I'm going to try and go too fast. And as we all know, everything with clay is better the slower you go. So I'm just pulling that out. It's getting dry really quick because there's so much clay, but my hands, my skin is always really dry. Trace is always having a go at me because I don't drink enough. So I have very dry hands, very dry skin. So I don't know whether that contributes to it. So still quite thick. You don't want it to be too thin because then it's just going to crack, but I just keep working away at it until I get it to where I think is about right. So you might think I'm adding a lot of water, but I think everybody's different. See, that's catching on my hands already. Okay. Now I always find that they crack here. So if you try and compress it a bit there. Okay. And then do the middle bowl first. So at the same time, you don't want it too thick either, because you don't want it to be too heavy, but you can get that at trimming. You know, as I always say, do what works for you. You'll watch potters and you'll see some potters say, oh, if you can't throw it you know, straight off the wheel, and you shouldn't have to trim it much, and you shouldn't have to trim the walls if you're throwing properly and all this. Do what you want to do, seriously. Like, don't get caught up in it. Plus too, I know I keep talking about Sin Lim, but he's amazing. He's actually a master potter. Almost every single video of his that I've watched, he trims the entire wall. So if he does, I figure I can, right? All right, so the other issue with your dip bowl, if you get your dip bowl too big, it's going to be, too high. It's going to be too high. Like, you want your walls higher for when you flip it over to trim it, so you're not resting on your dip bowl, because you want your dip bowl to be not to be supporting all that weight. So you can trim again once I've done the outside wall if I find the dip bowl is too high. Of course, you can always get your needle tool and cut a bit off the top. It's your pottery, you're the artist. Do what you want. That is my biggest mantra in pottery. Do what works for you. Watch video after video on YouTube. I have self-taught pretty much. I mean, I went to lessons in the beginning, but I've pretty much self-taught myself after that. And the best thing that you can do is just watch thousands of hours of YouTube. That's all I've done. I'm just going to try and compress that a bit, bring it out a bit more. So I should try and show you a bit around while we go as well, because it's always interesting to see how people do things, but that feels pretty good, nice thickness, but it doesn't look like there's much space for chips. So we'll just pull the wall up and see what we think. Just bring that out a bit, flatten it down a bit. So the plan is that this is going to be a flop bowl, but that may change. So if the rim, last time I did a flop chip and dip, the rim flopped as I was pulling it up like this. Got quite thin and flopped on its own. So I was like, well, don't care, because it's going to be a flop bowl anyway. So it's kind of nice to be able to throw with the freedom of not caring if it flops. So I always try and throw inwards, but it is hard with these kind of walls, and it's starting to wobble on me because they are, you know, such a big wide wall. Just get a bit of water. So you can see it's coming out now, which is fine because I'm going to flop it, and that's what I was saying, that's what happened to me last time. Woo! Oh, and I meant to say too, if this all goes pear-shaped, this whole video, I don't care. I'm just going to keep going with it because I can show you what I then do. So this is where I then compress this a bit more. Lucky I told you it was going to be a flop chip and dip from the start. You would have thought it was just excuse, but I would have turned it into one anyway. That's the beauty of it and why it's good to show you what I do. And you'll be able to see all these come through my kiln unloads eventually. So I've got my camera on selfie mode today, which I don't normally do in my kiln unloads because Trace is there, but means I can see what you're all looking at. But it also is a really great help because I can see sort of what's happening on that side as well, which is really great. So I might just cut a little bit off this bowl in the middle because it is quite big for a dip bowl, even though it will shrink. So needle tool is your best way of cutting off clay. And then a little chamois, I just got a car wash chamois thing, and I just cut it up into little pieces. As I've told you guys before, husband doesn't know I did that. Well, he probably does now, it's been ages. He probably just went and bought another one. He probably didn't wondered where it went to, but okay, so let's bring it in a little bit, I think, because if I bring this dip bowl in a little bit like that, I'd then have obviously more room for my chips. So I like that. So I don't tend to flop this bowl. You could if you wanted to, or you could alter it, but I think if you're trying to get dip out with chips, you don't really want it really altered. So that's pretty much it. I'll just get some water out. So that is that one done. And then this is, oh, and obviously you don't wire it because I'm going to turn it upside down. This is my favourite tool for cutting around. You'll see me use it a lot today, cutting in the edges off things and also getting my bats up, which is what I'm going to use it for now. Now this is always the most nerve-wracking part because you don't know if it's going to fall off altogether, but it also, just dug in my nail, can be hard to get it to flop, although this one's going to behave, so that's good. So then I just flop it, shake it and flop it, flop all the walls down like that. So I don't think, oh, I'm doing it out of camera, so you can sort of see how it's flopped, and it's got a really pretty sort of shell shaped rim to it, and it's still going to be stuck to the bat because I haven't wired it off. So now I just got to go off camera for a minute. I put 2 chairs back to back, which of course I forgot to do. So you can fast forward this bit and put the bowl between the two chairs. Sorry about that. That was a bit unorganised of me. And I found a clay ball on the floor. So that will be coming up later. So while I've just got my big bat on here, so this is a bat system I've shown you before from Hartley and Noble in the UK. It cost me a small fortune to get it here to Australia from the UK, but I don't have bat pins on my wheel, so it just slides over and converts your wheel to have bat pins, which I love. Every single time I throw, I use it. So then you just put your big bats on like that, and then right, next. So the next one I wanted to do is just a plate, because I wanted to do a my beachy theme plate. So and that one I'll leave that. That's flop chip and dip, which I do with flop bowls as well. You can do whole bowls like that. I'll leave that probably for about 5 or 6 hours to dry, so I won't leave it overnight because it'll be flop puddle on the floor. If it dries off the bat, it'll come away from the bat, and then I'll come back down, turn it back over, wire it off before it gets too dry, and then just leave it and dry it as normal. Okay, so I'll just again just cone it up a little bit. Not necessary because it's new clay as well, it's not reclaimed clay, so it's not really necessary to go nuts with coning and everything. When I've also wedged it, because it's a bigger piece, I've wedged it. Well, actually I've wedged all my pieces for today. Sometimes I don't, and then I regret it because I get air bubbles, but I have today. Okay, so I haven't done too many plates, disclaimer, so we shall see what will happen today with this plate. And so I'll just push them out. Again, not an expert, do it my way, whatever works for you. And this is what I've slowly become my way of doing plates. As I say, not that I've done many, I've only done probably maybe 3 or 4 plates, so it could be a big disaster, we'll see. But yeah, if anything flops today, I'm just going to keep going with it, because you know, you see potters throwing on videos and everything's perfect and everything's wonderful, and then you get depressed because why can't yours be perfect and wonderful? Well, it's not the real world. So I will just go with whatever Stevie the Wonder Wheel wants to give me. Love my wheel. He's a Venco, which I think Venco's an Australian brand, but yeah, they're such good wheels. So it's what I learned on as well, one of the reasons I got it, but the main reason I got it was because I love the pan of it. It's like a teardrop shape, so it goes out, and my bucket, my water bucket sits within the wheel space, so it's really great. You don't have to have a separate bucket with water splashing all over the floor or anything. Mind you, as you can probably see, with these big pieces of clay, I am pretty much splashing all over the floor anyway. So I use this just because it's so dead straight. I use this with things like this, just to compress and to get it flat. Obviously with a plate you want it flat. It's probably still a little bit thick actually, so I might just see if I can push it down a little bit more. And I've done a video before on plates and shown you that if you get to this point and it wasn't centered and your outside rim of your plate is not round, which this one, touch wood, this one's pretty good at the moment, you can get a needle tool and just hold it down on there and just cut round like you do with a rim, but do it on the wheel, and then take the outside edge off, and voila, you have a round plate. I think this one's pretty good. It's still a bit thick, which is nice. I thought this wasn't going to be a very big plate, but it is. And as you can see, as I said to you, I'm going to try today not to get nervous and rush because I'm videoing this. Because if I did, normally I would now rush it and then ruin it because I'd be rushing it. Just try to push that down a bit. And then you can always put a big swirl in it if you want to, but I've done that before on dinnerware that I've kept and bowls and stuff that I've kept, and it's not pleasant to eat from. It might look good, but what? It's not really pleasant to eat from, so I don't tend to do it. I'll do it on more decorative pieces, or I'll do it on the underside when I'm trimming, like bowls and stuff, but not where you're gonna eat from. Oh, there's a lump there, right there, so I can get rid of that. Okay, and then okay, so then I get this. Anything like this, doesn't have to be one of these, that's my foot tool when I put feet in mugs and bowls and things, but I get this and just get rid of all that bit of water and slurry and stuff, and then I just raise up the edge a bit. So this is where I've said to you before, I don't, with plates, I don't, like some people will push down in the center and pull out, get a bubble, and then pull up a wall and push it out, which is fine. That's, as I say, everybody just do it however works for you, but this is just how I like to do it. Seems to work for me. Okay, and then I'll put my chamois over the rim because I like that. And then you can might push that back down a bit. You could also, you could pull it up and then pull a rim out sideways if you wanted. And then this is where I'm saying again, back to this one, I take out the bottom with this one, like that, and then I wire it off. And then I have learnt from watching again, hissing Lynn, sorry, to wire it off now. Plates and things, and then in about an hour or two, when it started to firm up a bit, rewire it, because that will just stick back down. If you rewire it in about an hour or two while it's still quite soft, it will then be easier to get off the bat in the long run. So that is my plate done. Don't know what I'm gonna, oh yes I do, beachy glaze, right? I already said that. So you'll hopefully, if it survives drying, I like to try and clean this up a bit as I go so it doesn't get too much build up. You'll hopefully see all of these come through the kiln eventually. And I'm lucky I've got my shelves right here that I can put things on. I usually put my clay where my camera is, but I've got my clay on my shelves today. Okay, and then you'll remember that I did that the big drippy bowl. Well, I kept it because I loved it so much. So I thought, well, I want to attempt to do another one, either for the markets or for myself, because, why can't I get that to going? There we go. The one that I made was quite heavy, which is typical of me. So I'm going to try and do another big bowl. So this is where it could flop and things could go horribly wrong because I'm not the best at bowls, but we shall see. big clay. So this is 2.5 kilos, about the same as what I used for the, whoa, hang on, oh, that was not good. About what I used for the chip and dip. And I didn't obviously put that down very centered. Okay. So, yeah, it should make a good size bowl. There we go, that's better. Whew. So again, because I don't edit, you get to see me and my red face. And that's why I've said to you in the past, I don't show you me centering, because I just end up with a big red face, and that's not good. Let's get rid of all that extra clay that I just pushed out. And again, not going to edit, well, I don't edit. So that's fine. That happens to all of us, I'm sure. Okay, now we've got a nice piece of semi-centered clay. Okay, so it's now a smaller amount of clay, but it's still a nice amount of clay. That's fine. It didn't want that little extra bit on it, so we won't have that bit. Okay. Oh, there's a nice breeze coming in. It's really hot here today again. Saw Lisa Finkel doing her kiln unload today, and she was outside and she had a big coat on and she had gloves on, and she was even saying her fingers were freezing inside the gloves. Oh, the poor thing. Whereas I am roasting, but I didn't want to put my fan on, because I've put my fan on in here in the past when I've been videoing, and it's all you can hear is the fan, because it's just behind you there. So yes, okay, so that's pretty good. So again, this could end up being a flop bowl, and it is hard to center bigger pieces of clay, so I should probably take more time, but I'm more interested in, I'm more try and fix the walls once I get there if it's not quite centered. I just want to put a bigger base on this. I never put big enough bases on my bowls, as you probably have noticed. So I'm going to try and do a bigger base bowl, so you guys can come along for the ride for me and a bigger base bowl. So I have seen somebody as well, I don't remember who it was, go down with the sponge, and I quite like doing it with the bigger pieces. So you go down like the same, and pull it out. Let me just wet that a bit more. I don't know if you can see the water flying everywhere, but there is a lot of water. It's all over my camera too. Well, my phone, so hopefully my phone will be okay. Give it a good clean afterwards. Good dry out. And then just compress the base. And I tend, as I compress it, to, if it's quite thick, which it still is, to pull out more as I'm doing that. And then, so I do quite like putting big feet on bowls, so I'm not too worried if it's a big base. It just means it's a smaller bowl, which I don't really want that in this case, but that's all right. And then I'm just gonna pull that out a bit more. Again, that was something that was causing my bowls to be heavy, was this corner bit in here. So now I try and really pull that out, which was another thing from Heesingland, that if you actually sort of push in there as well as in here to get that corner bit so it's not so thick. So I just sort of start to volcano that in even this early, so that it tells the clay that's the direction I want it to go in. Doesn't always work that way, but that is my plan. Okay, so I've already got a bit of a natural undercut there, as you can see, so I'll just use that. Yeah, so it is. I thought being such a big bowl, it is a bit off center, as you can see, but that's okay. That's what we're here for. Just watch and go with the flow and see what I can get out of it. The main thing is to try not to let it go out too far, because it's not centered. It's not going to be very happy. So you can also get your rib and kind of rib it in a bit, just because that will recompress and strengthen the clay as well doing that. Okay. Maybe this will become a dog bowl. It's going to be quite a small bowl, I think. Like shallow. It's a big bowl, but it's going to be shallow. Right, here's my sponge. See how it's fighting me and it wants to go outwards. Woohoo! Look at that wobble. That's like a belly dancer. Wow, that's a big wobble. So if we can get a bowl out of it, that will be good, but it's not happy. Okay, that's better. Okay, so it kind of told it that it needs to go in more rather than out more. So I don't know how that'll go with this pull though. It might just go straight back out again, but we'll see. So you kind of want to push more with your outside finger than your inside, so that you can try and get it to keep that inward trajectory. Okay. And some more water. Compress that again. I can feel there's like a few throw lines and it's not all that happy. Okay, so it's come up quite straight again. So I'll just, and this is the thing, if you take your time with these ones that are not entirely happy with you, you got more hope of getting a bowl out of it rather than just rushing it. Get the water out of the inside. So it's a bit, seems a bit funny to, you know, people who are new to pottery or don't throw, that you're constantly removing and adding water, because I'll now put water back on again, because I can't pull the wall up while it's dry or my fingers will just catch on it. But you don't want it sitting in the base because you'll get the S cracks, so you need to get it out of the base. Whoop. You need to get the water out of the base, but then you need it on the walls. So you can't leave it just sitting on the base. Okay. So it feels pretty stressed now, this clay, so I think I'm going to just have to make it into a bowl if I can, if I'm lucky enough, and call it a day, because it's a bit it's actually not too bad of a rim. I might even leave it. But yeah, it's getting a bit thin and a bit stressed out, so I'll just use this last pull and make it into a bowl if I can. Everybody cross your fingers, it might still end up a flop bowl, but here we go. This is when the bowls are happier because I'm letting it go outwards, which is where it wants to go. So that's better. It's happier now because I'm not fighting with it trying to make it go inwards. So there's still a lot of clay in the bottom here. As we know, that's my problem. Heavy bases, I can get it at trimming, but still I'm not happy yet with the shape, so I'll pull it again. Okay. So, considering how wobbly that was when it was a belly dancer, I got Chase in my head saying, oh, you saved it, I can't believe it, I love watching when you save things like that. So I know she'll be proud of me for saving that. So I got a bit of stuff, a bit of gunk in there, I'll just get out. Okay. So it's still not very bowl shaped, is it? So we can still shape it a bit more. Shape it with your rib because your rib's kind of roundy on the edges anyway, and then I curve it like that so I can curve it with the flow of the bowl. Do the same on the inside. And then, as I say, you can always get it at trimming. Don't be afraid to trim your walls. Don't listen to people who tell you shouldn't have to trim your walls, because I bet you they do. I actually watched one potter in America who shall remain unnamed, and she said, oh, you shouldn't have to. She's one of these advocates for not trimming your walls, which is fine. She's a brilliant potter. So she said that in her video, and in the same video proceeded to trim the entire wall. So Trace and I had a good laugh over that. So don't worry about it. Quite like that. So yeah, all that bottom stuff, I'll cut a lot of it off now, and you'll see how much clay I still have there because I can see it all. But I will reclaim it, don't panic, it won't go to waste. So I cut that down till I hear it touch the wheel. Get my needle tool. And as you saw, that pot did not want me to fiddle and play with it anymore. It was not happy. So there's no point in pushing it when it didn't want to be pushed. Then I'll go back to this one again. And you can see I've got an even better shape underneath just getting all that clay off. And I will trim it more, and it will hopefully be in a kiln unload if I don't go through the base or something with it. I'll just get, there's a bit of grog in there. Well, not grog, a bit of slip. That's the word. In there. Then again, wire off. I wire all my pieces off again. That is something that is different. Each potter, well, not each potter, but potters are all different. Some don't like to wire, some do. Some don't wire mugs and but will wire big pieces. I wire everything because I don't know. I mean, I have tried not wiring mugs and they do pop off the back quite nicely. So you don't really have to, but I just do. I think that's just how I was taught from a young potter. So I just do. So there you go. Don't want to turn it too much because I have wired it and it'll slide off and then I'll be annoyed. But that's a nice little bowl, a different shape for me. So I think, yep, that's it for my big stuff. So now I'll show you the other thing I have from Hartley & Noble for this system, which is this insert, which you would have all seen many times from different companies that have these. I'll just get rid of the dry clay. So there's many options of these around, but the Hartley and Noble, there's not many that have the option of the apron, the bit that goes over your wheel to give you your back pins. So a lot of these, if you don't have back pins, you've got to use Batmate. Well, I've tried using Batmates. Batmates don't like me, and I do not like Batmates, to be honest. So I went to the expense. There are now a couple of companies sneaking in, or one in particular in Australia that do them. I think they're in Tasmania. I've seen them online, but that wasn't around when I got this one. So and like Hartley and Noble staff, they're just so nice to deal with. Like, you pretty much, I think you're dealing with the owners, and they make it to the size of your wheel. That's why it fits over so nicely. So they will do that. So now it's smaller bowls. So it's about 1 kilo of clay from memory. And you see people that cone up, and then when they cone down, they bend the top over and push it down. Can't do that. I don't know why. And then I saw I think it was Mud Girl Pottery. I saw one potter where she did it this way, and it just works for me. Again, do whatever works. So again, I am going to go for a bigger base, because again, this is a bowl, and this is the problem I have with bowls, why they flop, because I never do the base big enough, and then they end up flopping. So I'm just going to go for a bigger base from the start. Use my sponge again if I can. And you always want to compress the base. If you're getting S cracks, you're not compressing enough. So I'm pushing quite hard. I can feel clay moving. So I'm actually thinning the bottom a little bit even more when I'm compressing. That's how hard I'm pushing. And again, I'm just pushing right out to get that corner bit. And then that's actually quite a bit thick still, so I will go down and pull more out if that happens. You don't have to be stuck with what you originally did. You can always do that. And then if you find, again, I'll say it now in case it happens, if you find that your rim is wonky, you can always do an altered rim. That's a great way to hide inconsistency, is that the word? You know, if something doesn't quite turn out how you want it to, you can always just do an altered rim. Why not? Always compress your rim. So I was just thinking, actually, I might even show you guys the lotus, how I do the lotus bowl rim, because I know that's always popular. It's really popular at the markets, if you sell pottery at markets or online or whatever, the lotus rim. And if you do it pink, yeah, because it looks like a flower. Very popular. I know Sally Roper in Jamaica, she says that pinks are not really popular in Jamaica. Interested to see how a pink lotus bowl would go to her clients, because they're very popular here. Everyone I've had just sells it. I've never had them, touch wood, I've never had one survive through a market, they always sell. So that was I think Matthew Kelly originally saw it, I think. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure it was Matthew Kelly where I originally saw the lotus rim. Can be done on anything. I've done half of it on a chip and dip where I've just pulled the outward, not the inward bit, which I'll show you if I do it on this one. I'll just compress that wall a bit. Don't know why, but that's my most satisfying pull when I start, or both, like when I'm shaping them. I just love doing that when I'm not fighting to get them to not go out, when I'm letting them go out. I find that very satisfying. Shimmy. Okay. Alright, and then you can see I've got a bit of clay in the bottom there, so I might also show you how I do it. Gets rid of some of it. And then this tool I was showing you before, put the little foot in it, so you just wet it so it slides through okay. And then you just put it straight on the wheel, just push it in. Wet it again. So when you do that, so it makes that nice little foot, but it does kind of put one of those beginner pottery humps, or what I call beginner humps, inside your bowl, because it kind of pushes the inside. So I just get my ribbon, push that back out, because you want it to be a nice bold shape inside. Bold. Okay, then I'll show you how I do the lotus rim. So you kind of want it up a bit like that. Actually, I might make it come out just a little bit. All right, and then you can use this one as well for this. Get all the clay off it. So okay, you can use that one, or I've also got this one I use as well sometimes. They're very similar, but you don't want to cut it. That's quite sharp actually. I might use the other one. Just wet it. And then you just want to go, well, I start by going opposite, so you just go like that, and you kind of want to bring it down so it's coming out and down, which you'll see as I turn it. So then I go the opposite side, out and down. Then I go to the quarters. And then you can do as many or as little of these as you want. So when I did the chip and dip, I didn't want, like, you can go back and have a look at, there's a chip and dip that made me cry. I'm sure you all remember. I didn't want to take up any of the dip space. So instead of going in here, which I'm going to do now, I went out the whole way. So I just repeated that the whole way around. But with the lotus flower, you also, I might do it from this side, might be easier. You kind of go inwards there. So you've got outwards and then halfway around, halfway in between, you go in. So you go in there. And then you've got your little swirly bit. So you kind of play with it until you're happy with it. So this one's going to be more sort of squarish, which I quite like. So I think in the past, instead of just doing 4, I think I've done 6 or 8 or something. I don't know, but that's what I mean. You can do whatever you want. Quite like this one. And then I get my finishing sponge, my white sponge. I love this. What is it? Mud Tools, their white sponge. It's my favourite. It's really good, especially if you use groggy clay. It finishes it off without dragging the grog out. So if you don't want the grog to come out, it's really, they're amazing. They're like magic. I don't know how they work. But and then you can just fiddle with it as much as you want or as little as you want. And then you can put the sponge over it more at trimming when it's a little bit more, what's the word, like stable. You can put that, you can do that. But you can see from there it's quite square. I quite like that. It's quite different. And then, so I think I usually did 6. But anyway, that's fine. You get the idea. You can do 6, you can do 8, you can do whatever you want. Wire that off. And then because you've got this thick foot of clay here, it makes it quite heavy. Again, me heavy. So then I will trim a foot into this as well to try and get the weight out of the middle of the bowl so it's not quite so heavy down the bottom, because you've got that foot. You can't really avoid that. So again, I've wired this off, so I don't really want to lift it too much, but you can see it's quite square, but it's pretty. I think I'm going to like that one. That's pretty, and you can see the foot. Nice. Okay, so I don't know where I can put that down there. I'm going to have to get up and move some things in a minute. Okay. So then some more bowls. This one I might do more of just a bowl, normal bowl shape. So when you're pulling out, if you push in with your outside hand, you can try and keep it more centered, so it doesn't get pulled off center when you're doing that. Okay. Okay. Actually, I was just thinking if I get one where I can flop the rim or sort of fold the rim over, I might do that one that I did a couple of kiln loads ago that everyone contacted me and was raving about, that had the I think it was river birch and soft red on the rim, and I'd folded the rim flat, so I might see if I can do that because I kept it. I didn't keep the river birch light flux one though, so I picked the pink one, so I kept the pink one. So I'd like to have one for the markets because it got such massive reaction that it's actually one of the thumbnails, so you don't even have to watch video, you can go back and look at my thumbnails to see it. I would like to have one for the markets, so I might see if I can do that. That's what I mean. See, these thoughts come to me while I'm throwing, and it's great. I love just going, well, you know, might not be this one, might be the next one, might not happen at all. Doesn't matter. Might happen tomorrow. Who knows? Okay, it's a bit dry. Okay, so yeah, I think I will with this one. Just compress the wall a bit. Okay, so just put some water on that and see if I can get it to behave. There we go. Okay. It's kind of like defying gravity, so who knows if it's going to flop or what. I might just cut some of that off before I start playing with the rim too much. Okay, and then just try and flatten that a bit. And then what I did, it feels like it's gonna flop. I don't know how this is gonna go. But what I did was I just kind of like did these ones. I might have to wait. It's a bit wet, yeah. Especially there. Yeah, I might do it when it's a bit drier. So that's the other good thing. Just kind of went like this. Kind of rippled the rim up and down like this. You can start to see it, what I mean. Oh, you'll see it in the kiln unload anyway. So in a couple of hours, or when I come down to check on the chip and dip, I will fiddle with that, because that side's really floppy and really wet. So that's all right. Of course, wire it off. Okay, I might just move some of these over here. Oh, so I'm running out of space with those big ones. That way I can get to it. Sorry about that. I feel like I'm covered in clay. Need a drink out of my beautiful Monsters ink mug. Still love this mug. And that is the Power Turquoise. I don't know if you can see it. It's a bit of a weird light in here. Power Turquoise Smoky Merlot mug. Schmucka Merlot. So we got one more bowl. And then mugs. I love throwing mugs, hate doing handles. So I don't particularly enjoy throwing bowls because they never seem to want to behave for me. So hopefully this last one will behave, because I've had a little bit of luck today, which is nice. Had a bit of saving pieces, which is good for you guys to see that we're not, you know, well, not me anyway, I'm a beginner, but potters, these things happen to everybody. Don't edit. So it's what you see is what you get. So this part is full speed. This feels like a bit more clay than the other two, so that's good. Get a bigger bowl. Now this one I really have no idea what I'm doing with this one, so let's just play. See what Stevie wants me to do. So my first pull is never really a pull, it's more about just feeling the walls, feeling the clay, seeing if there's any air bubbles in, seeing if it's even all around, and kind of compressing and evening it out a bit, especially with bigger pieces. It's more about evening the wall from bottom to top, thickening the wall. So you don't want to start with a thin wall at the top. Unless you're doing a flop bowl, doesn't matter. Can't wait to see that. Hasn't fallen off the bat yet, so that's a good thing. Okay. Oh, just chunked it. I have potter's nails, which is to say I have no nails, but yet I still managed to chunk everything with my non-nails. I have none, but somehow I still seem to manage to dig my nails in everything. I was actually thinking maybe we should one day I should do something, a bowl or a mug or something with the texture of nails, because it's a potter's nightmare. Just do the whole wall in nail chunks. Maybe it would look good. I think the glaze would play nicely on it. Okay. It's going to be quite a nice sized bowl. I think I shouldn't speak too soon. Actually, just looking at it there, I just got an idea and I might do that bowl shape that I love. I'll show you if it will work. Again, that's where I say I like letting the clay be what it wants to be, because then I'll look at it and go, oh, there's this shape is starting to already appear. And you know, you talk about clay memory, and I think if you go with that clay memory of where it's already started to have its memory, you have more chance. It just seems to work better, which is a bit weird, but you know, I think if we go that belly and then that back in and then that out at the rim, that shape that I love, because that's what it looked like to me back before, just not as not as much as that, but it was sort of slightly there, so I'll just go with it. And get the rib. And then because I've shaped it such a dramatic or a different kind of shape, I don't think I can get any of that clay up, but I can give it a go. It's quite dry. And this is why my pot's quite heavy too, because I get there and I go, oh, I don't want to ruin it, I'll just leave it, and then they end up being quite thick in the base. Go. Okay. So if we move over it. Really excited for the kiln unload tomorrow. I've made some very different pieces, very different kiln unload this time, some very big pieces. It'll be quite a quick kiln unload because there are some big pieces in there. None of Tracy's again, but she's going to be glazing when she comes up, so there'll be some of hers coming through the next one. Okay, let's cut that bottom off again. Again, you could put that that foot on it again if you wanted. It would suit this shape, and I have done that before with this shape, but I'm not going to today. Quite like it just how it is. Yeah, it's a big chunk there. Okay, looks pretty good. Okay, I think that's probably my favourite so far, but I always love that shape, so I'm a bit partial. I've done bigger versions of that shape as well. I think it's pretty, and once it shrinks it'll probably be quite a good ramen bowl sort of size. Short soup size. Well, combination short soup, if you have that. Oh, it's my favourite with all the veggies. Can you tell I'm hungry? It's dinner time. I can smell dinner. They think they're barbecuing upstairs, so it smells amazing. It's making me hungry. Okay, here we go. I love that one. That's pretty. Hopefully that will survive the trimming stages. Okay, so start on mugs. So I might cut it here and do part A and part B, or I might just put the whole thing up. I don't know if there's a limit on YouTube because we're already at an hour. I don't know if they have a time limit on YouTube, so I'm not sure. I'll see. So this was the one I found on the floor, so it's got a big chunk out of it, so I'm just going to go with it and just see if I can. I'll probably get air bubbles in it, but we'll see if we can kind of work with it. No point in wasting it. But disclaimer, if it flops, it's probably got air bubbles in it from that big chunk. So it seems only to be quite a small piece too. Don't worry, I don't normally have balls of clay flying around my studio. I think just because I had dropped the bag when I was on my lunch break and I was wedging all this clay, the bag fell on the floor and I think it just fell out and I didn't obviously see it. It's alright, it was still wet, so that's okay. Alright, let's see what we can do with it. So again, I have no plans for my mugs, so when I just throw a few mugs like I'm going to today, I just try and alternate like a few what I call female forms, more feminine forms, and then I try and do a few more masculine ones. So yeah, that's quite off center, so you can try and kind of pull it back in a bit if you can. And because of that, it's got quite a small base, so I might try and make one of those angular mugs that I do. So again, you want to try and get it still to go inwards, even though in the end I want it to go outwards. You don't want it to do that from the beginning because it'll just flop. Yeah, that rim's bumpy too. That's alright, it's all the fun of it, isn't it? Yeah, it's not going to be good. I much prefer to pull a piece that's nicely centered, but this piece was just a bit of a weirdo piece anyway, so that's all right. So it can get tempting when you've got a wobbly rim like that to cut it off now, but there's no point because it's off center. It's just going to wobble again on your next pull, so you might as well just wait until the end. But this is a good way to show as well. Well, I shouldn't speak too soon. I was going to say how to save a piece that's got that bad of a rim. Did it on purpose. No. Not. So you're going to cut the rim off, which I'm obviously going to do with this one. You want to keep it straight. So you want to cut it before you start shaping it. because you want to cut it quite straight when it's straight. So I might cut it now and just see what happens. So I always just use the needle tool, slow your wheel right down, and then just put it through. All of a sudden, wow, it's like magic. Which is another thing that's quite funny that you can watch if you're watching throwing videos of you know, more experienced potters than me. You'll notice, if you watch carefully, that all of a sudden they'll have a bit of a wobbly rim. Next frame, it'll kind of do a little frame cut, and next frame, all of a sudden the rim's perfect, and they don't tell you. I'll just tell you, I don't care. It's clay, right? So, I was thinking of doing a one with a small base that comes out on an angle, but I don't think it's going to be tall enough now. It was only a little piece of clay, so that's what I'm saying. I'm just throwing what the clay wants to be, so I don't think it will be now. I'll change that point. But still can be quite a more of a masculine shape, maybe. A straight up and down shape. Probably being a bit sexist, but it's just my way of describing things. No offense to anybody. Like, give him a bit of a belly in the middle. I quite like the bit of a barrel shape sometimes, and then give him a lip. Kind of make the lip a bit thinner. Whoops. It's always nicer to drink from a thinner lip. Okay, so it's going to be, for me, quite a small mug, because you know I always do gigantic mugs, but it'll still be a good mug. And I've actually intentionally wedged a few smaller balls of clay today, and bigger ones, different sizes, for that exact reason, because you need to have options at your markets. You can't just have all big mugs. Well, you can, I have. That's all I've had. But yes, I have had a few comments from people asking, do you have smaller mugs? So I need to start trying to do that. And by the time this shrinks, it might look big, but by the time it shrinks, it's going to be much better, or much smaller anyway. I'll just try and fix up the bottom there a bit. There we go. Yeah, that's cute. I like that. Okay. That could be either or, depending on what handle you put it on. That's what I like too. You can change a mug immensely by the handle that you put it on. Which actually reminds me, I did mean to show you while I was here, because they're right here in this drawer. Not that drawer, this drawer. Oh my, I always talk to you about my handles from Diamond Core. Look at them all. I'm so lucky. All these different shaped handles from Diamond Core, and Trace recently got us the little mini version ones for smaller. That one's the one I do my plait handle with when I pull 3 of them. All these different shapes, and those 2 are my favorite too. So that one's like gives you the thumb imprint, the one on the right there, and then this one here is the cloud one that I love. Well, I say on the right, if this inverts it, I do know my left and right. It looks like the right to me at the moment. So yeah, since they're all there, well, I should show you, I'm very lucky. Okay, so do a couple more. So I like to try to do my favourite shape, because I know people always say that they really like the shape when I do it, so I'll see if I can. It's a standard shape, but it's pretty. I like it. Just the small belly. Don't know if this will be enough. This was one of the smaller balls. Actually, I might do this one because it's a smaller ball. See, changed my mind again. I might do the fat, short, fat kind of shape, because it's a bit hard to do that with the bigger balls. So I might do that. You know, the ones that I carve, and I did last time I did the weeping plum lavender, like I did, I think, weeping lavender on the outside, weeping plum on the inside, and carved it. It was really pretty. And they are popular too because they're a different shape. And people at markets like to find something a bit different to the normal. Just chunked it again. So it's kind of like, that's what I like, it's kind of like wanting to be that shape already, which is good. It's a bit off center too because I'm rushing. This is what I was saying in the beginning, I don't want to start rushing, so I'm going to slow back down. So I'll just cut the rim off this one as well, which is fine. If you need to cut the rim off, cut the rim off. All right, now try and shape it a bit. So you still obviously want the outward going rim because it's got to be nice to drink from. So sometimes with these I sort of still try and collar them in a bit here, just so they're not too wide of a rim. So it's kind of a cauldron-y looking shape. It's a bit different for me. And then you use one of the mini handles that I was just showing you that Trace got us, because it's only quite a short mug, so you can't really put a big chunky, well you could, but it'd probably look a bit out of place having a big chunky handle on it. You could even almost put two handles on that and make it a soup bowl. Maybe I will. Even with one handle, well, it's still a soup bowl. I don't know why I always think soup bowls need a handle on each side. They don't. I was thinking I might try and collar it a bit more, but I actually think that might be quite nice as a soup bowl. So, you know, let it be what it wants to be and see what I end up with out of the can. If it even if the handle stays, because you know me and handles, we don't agree the best of times. That was completely different shape to what I had in my head when I started putting that on the wheel, which is what I love. Love. Cut it off. Okay, here we go. So that's going to be a very wide rimmed mug, but it's still going to be a mug because sometimes, well, Trace is the worst culprit, where she says, oh, it's too big or it's the wrong shape or whatever, and makes it a bowl or makes it something else. So I've got to stick with it. Again, this one had a bit of brown clay on it. Okay, so there we go. So a bigger ball. That's a big ball for a mug. Okay. So this is going to be a big mug. Not huge. I don't think I have any Gigantosaurus mug balls, but it's bigger. A lot bigger than that one. So all of these balls of clay are within, I think the smallest one was about 550, 600 grams up to about 800, which is very big. I think there was only one that was that big, which might even be this one, I'm not sure. Sponge, I think that's better. Right, and then compress the base always. Every time I say that, I get that. Is it Megan Trainor? It's all about the base, about that base. I won't start singing. You will definitely, if you haven't already, you will tune out. But yes, that is what is in my head every single time. Even when I just think, when I'm throwing by myself and I think, compress the base, that song comes in my head. And with pottery, it is all about that base. So you do not want S cracks. This one's got a bit of an air bubble in it. I find it a bit hard sometimes with the white clay, seeing that, like, I can feel the bubble, but seeing where it is to pop it. I think it's there. Just, yeah. And then sometimes as well, if you compress it, you can pop air bubbles just with feeling and compressing with your rib. There they are. Okay, so this is becoming quite a wide mug, so I'm going to bring it back in a bit. So I was just thinking how I hadn't had an air bubble all day, and I just got a couple of air bubbles in this one. So I jinxed myself inside my head. Right, so what I might do with this one is show you how I do the rippled edge, because I often show you those out of the kiln, so I might as well show you today. A bit nervous now because I might muck it up. We will see in a minute. Okay, still feel that air bubble on the outside. A bit more clay in the bottom. So with doing this, you want to have quite a straight side to be able to do this. Well, it's easier, don't have to. Yeah, it's very dry. So one of the air bubbles has made its way to the rim. I don't know if you can see that, so I'm just going to cut that off. Might as well get rid of it. Alright, so even when I do these rippled edges, I still like to do the rim first because it gives you somewhere to stop. Like here, sometimes you can get a bit carried away and not know where or not think about your rim, because obviously you don't want a big bobble on your rim. So you do your rim first, then you know where you're at. Take some of the clay off the bottom, because again you want a nice straight edge. Side will give you your best chance. Okay. Alright, and then you want it quite wet because you want it to slide through your fingers. So that I do 2 fingers inside, 1 out, and just go like that, let it go like that. So you can also, when I have done where you start at the bottom, you get your wheel going really slow and you pull it up and you do a spiral. But I just find this way, and I see it's still a bit dry, just put some more water in. more successful. Well, I prefer it. Let's just go like that, let it go, and then I've got my second finger in that lump. I'm making a new lump above. Okay, and then where the rim is, and then you can go and you can fix it all up after. And my fingernail, that I don't have fingernails, but it's still dug in on the inside, which is a bit annoying. Could feel it digging in the whole way. So then you can get your beautiful white finishing sponge and try and get rid of some of those fingernail prints. Okay. And clean up the outside. And then we can kind of collar it all back in a bit. Starting to flare out a bit at the top. And then you can adjust your, I might even get rid of that one. So you can just do what you like with it, really. There you go. And then if you want to put it back in again, because I can't decide if I want it in or not. Can't make my mind up. Okay, so let's just fix that a bit more. Okay, there we go. Love my sponge on a stick. I've shown you him before. I know people make their own, but I love it because you can pull it short or really, really, really long. It needs a new sponge on him. You can just get new sponge heads. Great. Don't know what brand it is. It'd be like Mud Tools or XM or one of them. Okay, there we go. So yeah, he's going to be quite a big mug. Okay, and I'll do one more because I want to try and do that pretty shape that I was telling you about. Mind you, this is another quite a big piece of clay. Running out of water. Okay, so for this shape, if it works, I just want quite a standard sized puck, not too big. Sometimes I do that, I use my two thumbs down in the middle. whatever mood takes me, then pull them both out to the sides. Again, whatever works. And press the bottom. Okay, so compress the bottom a bit. Okay. So this is going to be the right sort of shape for what I want to do, which is good. It's a bit tall, but that's okay. Doesn't matter, gives me different sizes, different shapes. Just got a bit of clay there, I'll just get that off. Chunked a bit with my knuckle. Could have probably left it there, but you might as well get it off. I don't know what it would have done. And in actual fact, this one is already looking like it wants that little belly that I was talking about. So it's wanting to be that, which is good. So as you've probably noticed right through this, I've always got my elbow braced somewhere on me, either on my knee or on in my hip or somewhere. Makes it much more successful throwing if you do that. Shape that I want. So I always do, oh, needs more water, but I always do too big of a belly. So I've decided the shape that I love is just kind of quite a subtle little belly there, and then back in, and then just kind of long up here, and then out at the lip. Pretty much like that. Flick the last one. Alright, that's always nice. So that, I didn't want to jinx myself in the beginning, but that piece of clay wanted to behave the whole way. It didn't have any air bubbles or anything in it, so that was a nice one to end on. The shape that I love, that is definitely my favourite shape. was to have a favourite, that would be it. And then when you take this off, you see it even better. And again, you can put that foot, I sometimes put that foot into it as well because it quite suits this shape. But see, when you cut that off, it's even better. And again, there's a lot of clay still there, so rather get it off, I'll reclaim it, make something else out of it. So you don't want to cut that too short because then it becomes quite an unstable mug. So you want to still have a base to it. Get that slip off. Okay, that'll do. So if you do that, it gives your wire somewhere to kind of sit where you start, so you don't go through the floor of your pot. Touch wood, because I really like this one. I don't jinx myself. Okay, here we go. There we are. So that's my favourite for today. And my chip and dip is still behaving itself upside down. So that's it. So I have got a couple more, but I'll keep going with it. I won't bore you anymore. If you made it this far, epic effort. Well done. Thank you very much for watching. Stay muddy and have a magic day. Bye.